Go on. All right. Well, I'll just kind of kick things off. I want to introduce myself. My name is Rick Thomas. I am the council membership chair here for the Cascade Pacific Council. And this year, we're really trying to put a lot of effort into training and tools for units around just support with membership. We had the session last month where we went into dynamic year-round recruiting. That video is actually posted to the council membership page now that if folks want to go back and watch that, that's available. Something you can also share with others who are coming into roles and would benefit from that. Tonight, we'll be talking about recruitment tools in My.Scouting. Alex Brookins from Timberline District has been generous with putting something together that we can go through. But just want to say thank you for coming tonight. As you have questions and stuff as we go through, feel free to stop and we can go through those, drop them into the chat. Tim's going to be monitoring the chat, but also be thinking about other trainings that you think would be helpful for teaching units or yourselves the different tools and things that we can be doing to grow scouting here in the CPC and offering opportunities for more youth. And so with that, though, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Alex to go through what she's prepared for us tonight, and looking forward to it.
Thank you. So my name is Alex Brookins, and I am currently the Timberline membership chair, also new member coordinator for Troop 376. And I just want to share a little bit about myself. So as sometimes you probably find yourselves doing too, you might look around and go, how did I get here? So my husband is an Eagle Scout. And when our boys were old enough, we took them to the local Cub Scout pack. I thought, oh, good, hubby can take the boys and I can have 1 hour a week to all to myself. So 9 months later, my husband became the Cub Master, and then he named me the new member coordinator. But I got something way better than 1 hour a week alone. I gained too many friends to count, being plugged into our local community and being a part of this amazing scouting family. So despite not knowing anything about Cub Scouts, I watched all of the Scout webinars I could find on recruiting and marketing, and then I used my own experience of not knowing absolutely anything to build a system for our pack that would set us up for success with welcoming new families. I served as the new member coordinator for Pack 510 in Gladstone and took our membership from 12 Scouts to 56 Scouts in 2 years. Between 2021 and 2024, I had the privilege of welcoming 83 Scouts into our pack. So this is kind of my background as a new member coordinator. And this is, I got the Scouter's Key Award. Usually I'm a behind the scenes type of a person, but I got a nice award and had all the kids come up. So all the kids except for 3 pictured in that photo are ones that I got to welcome into our pack. So it was a pretty fun time. I first went to University of Scouting in 2022, and I realized that there were no courses offered around recruitment or onboarding for Cub Scouts. On the drive home, I went, crap, I'm going to have to teach class. And I drafted an outline for said class on the drive home from University of Scouting. And then the next 2 years, I taught a class called Closing the Deal, Welcoming New Cub Scout Families. My husband took Wood Badge in 2022, and we joked that I might as well take the next course as I was completing volunteer projects that were harder than some of his Wood Badge tickets. So in spring of 2024, I got my own scouting experience as a Wood Badge participant. And having not been in scouting as a youth, I highly recommend Wood Badge. It gave me a different perspective on what scouting is designed to teach youth as well as adults. So my tickets were focused on membership and onboarding supports at the pack. And then as our youngest son crossed over at the troop, and now even at district level, and then I do sometimes sit in with the council and help there. I love supporting our volunteers and encouraging our parents to get involved. So I stepped up to help Timberline District with their leads and applications, realizing that a bunch of units don't have new member coordinators. My not so secret goal is to train a whole army of new member coordinators and to put one in every single unit. So if you have someone that you would like to get trained, definitely have them reach out to me or send them my way. I would be happy to help them get trained. So the training today that I put together is to help empower anyone to more easily follow up with leads and new registrations and to understand how those parts of My.Scouting work. One of our goals as a council is to increase membership volunteers and supports for each district. So my hope is that this training provides that vital information you need to help successfully follow up on Be a Scout leads and welcome more families into scouting. So let's dive right in. We're going to start where any family who randomly wonders if there's a scout pack near them is, they're going to search the internet for it and are going to end up at beascout.org. So go ahead on your device or whatever you have in front of you, go to beascout.org, and I want you to type in your zip code and look up your unit and find your unit. If you're not connected to a unit, look up your zip code and find one that's near you. And the one I have up on the screen is an example of one. This is Pack 510 from Gladstone. And what you're looking for is it accurate? Because when I started as new member coordinator, I would run into it all the time where people would come in and they would say, I contacted 5 packs in my area and you are the only one that got back to me. That's not great feedback. So write down anything that you need to update that you see immediately. We have handouts here. If you don't have a handout, this is for how to update your Be a Scout pin and settings. And if you flip over to the second to last page, I can get the link up. Okay, there's a QR code. For those of you who are online, you can scan that QR code. That'll get you to the guide. And if you turn over to the second to the last page, there is a grid that talks about what should be in your additional info. Back and forth, sorry. So we'll go through and talk about that. So if you have that up, I was getting ahead of myself. So there's a few roles that can edit the Be a Scout, your pin on Be a Scout. What you need to do is you need to go over to my.scouting.org. So you can go ahead and open up a window with my.scouting.org and get into your organization manager and then unit pin. And so this can only be edited by the following roles. Your key 3, so your chartered organization representative, your committee chair, or your unit leader, which is your scoutmaster, cubmaster, etc. Can also be a key 3 delegate. So any of the key 3 can delegate up to 3 total registered adults. Also, your new member coordinator can edit your pin. The new member coordinator can only edit the pin information. They can't edit the settings, and we'll circle back to the settings later. So this is what a pin looks like when you get into beascout.org. If you're having trouble getting into it or you don't have access or have questions, I guess you can drop a message in the chat and we'll see if we can help troubleshoot that or direct you to how to get that access. So this is this is an example of Troop 376, which I have access to. This is our pin. So obviously you want to have appear on Be a Scout toggled on, and you want to allow people to apply online. Really important is making sure that your contact information is current. This does not need to be your unit leader. This needs to be the person that follows up on your unit's leads, ideally a new member coordinator, but you want to make sure that this person is going to be responding back to anybody that is looking for a unit or information about your unit. There's a spot where you can put your unit website in, and then towards the bottom, there's additional unit information, and this is just a free-form field that allows up to 500 characters, and this is where that second to last page of the handout, there's a grid that gives you prompts as for what we think the best practice is for information that should be put in your in that field. So this needs to be your meeting day, like what day of the week you meet and time, because nowhere on here does it ask for your day and time of a meeting. I'm in Timberline, but I got a lead one time that was across the river. They needed something in Cascadia. I looked up 5 unit pins in Cascadia. The closest ones, only one of them had their meeting day and time, and I was looking for a specific day. And so 4 of those units did not have that information, and that's probably statistically the odds. of what's going on with unit pins is people are not prompted to put their day and time, and so they don't. That's super important information. We also recommend that you have all of these fields toggled on. So the fields to display on unit pin, we want as many ways as possible for people to contact your unit. So have those toggled on, unless, for example, you don't have a unit website, you could leave that off. At the top corner there is a unit pin preview. So you'll enter all your information and then it will populate and show you an example of what it will look like. So I have this listed out. I think I've touched on most of these things already. One of the best practices for email to consider using a unit's email. So like a cupmaster pack510@gmail.com, something like that, so that when your unit leader changes their email, it's not somebody's personal email, it turnkeys over to the next person. So there's some consistency. We talked about all of these. A name of location. So oftentimes your address is like a church or a school, and to make it easier for people to find what building they're looking for, make sure you call out what the name of your location is. Also in that grid, we talk about types of activities or outings that you regularly schedule, how often. Definitely highlight your unit's favorite activities, and then let people know how to get more information about your unit or how to come visit your unit. If you scroll down lower on the screen on editing your unit pin, you'll see a place to put in your meeting address. You can edit this. I have been told, and I have seen occasionally, that people's address does not match where the pin gets dropped on the map. I've been told that the change or the correction for this is to change your address twice and save it. So change it once, add a space period or something, save it, and then go in and change it again and save it again, and that should refresh that. That's one issue we've come up against recently. Are there any questions on unit pin?
But I'll just echo, keeping that updated is really, really important.
Yeah.
There are a lot that get out of date, and I think it does cost a lot of units, potential scouts, just by unknowingly being out of date.
Yeah.
So if you have a cub master that's notoriously hard to get to respond to things, he should not be the contact on this.
Absolutely not.
That's why I'm changing ours right now.
Yay, that's what I want to hear. Okay, so we'll move right along then. Okay, so let's say somebody's gone on to be a scout, they found a unit, they've clicked on the little button that says, I want more information on your unit. Okay, so now that's going to show up in your unit's invitation manager, and the lead is going to get this email sent to them. And I copied this because we don't often see what the lead ends up getting or what's sent out, because it all happens behind the scenes automatically. So this just says that they've got your information, they passed it along to the leader, and you should hear from the leader soon. It says if you don't receive a response, please contact us, and it puts your whoever is listed as your contact in your unit pin, it puts their information there. Okay, so make sure that you have somebody designated for responding to leads in your unit. Ideally, every unit could have a new member coordinator. That would be fantastic. Otherwise, sometimes it's the scoutmaster or cub master that's wearing a lot of hats. But make sure that you have somebody that's responsible. I've seen committee chairs follow up on them. That's pretty common. So your Be a Scout contact receives an email that says you have leads. The subject is literally take action on leads in Invitation Manager. I get a ton of these, but also my email algorithm puts it into junk mail. So if you've never seen one of these and you should be getting them, that's what you should search for, and you'll probably find it, and you can tell your email like, nope, this is important. Please send this to me. So you can follow the link in that email that you get that says click here to navigate to Invitation Manager. You can click on that. It'll take you to where you need to go. Or you can go into my.scouting.org and you can navigate to it manually, just going menu and then organization. If you're in multiple units or districts, you'll have to drop down and find which you want to look at, and then click on Invitation Manager. So this is the dashboard for Invitation Manager for the unit level. And so it just kind of gives you a summary of your leads that you have open. So the new leads, open leads, the status of those leads, and then the age of your active leads. And we'll get into the status summary here. Some are pretty obvious. So a new one is a lead that hasn't been viewed yet. Open means it's been viewed. but it could be viewed by somebody at the district level or at the unit level or anybody that has access. Pending reassignment. So if you have a lead that's been active for 5 days, it'll kick itself into something called pending reassignment. The unit can still see it, but it just kind of triggers it at the district level to let them know like, hey, this has been open for 5 days. You should take a look at it and make sure that this lead is being followed up on by the unit. Invitation sent means that the send application button has been clicked, and that generates an email that is sent to the lead, encouraging them to apply online. And we'll talk a little bit more about that one next. Closed, that's just the lead has been closed. Usually like say there's a duplicate entry or multiple entries, you can close extraneous ones if they say that they're no longer interested or if they're 90 days old and they time out. Completed is when a lead has completed a member registration. So invitation manager, if you scroll down further, you can see the link to your units. You got a QR code and a link, and that's where people can go to register for your unit. And then down at the bottom, you have a list of all of the open leads for your unit. So this is the unit level. And then if we click into one of these leads, what you'll get, and this is an example one, so I had to black out personal information. So the leads show up with the parent name, and then it has their address, phone number, email, and then towards the date it was submitted. And then for youth information, it'll show the youth name, their age, their grade, and then what unit they submitted it to. And then there will be comments if they left any for the lead. And so this one just says, I'm looking for more information on where this troop meets, joining requirements, how often they go on scout camps, overall what to expect. So that gives you like a prompt as to like how to respond to this. And then on the side, you see the lead notes, and this is where you can see who opened it originally, that it got kicked to pending reassignment, meaning it had timed out. And then they wrote a note here that an email was sent, but nobody's heard anything back. And then I looked at it 3 weeks later, nothing had happened. And so I started a group text with the lead and the unit leader. And I could talk more about that later too. And obviously it must have gone pending reassignment or something because it says status updated to open, which happens when it gets kicked back. So you can kind of see a list of who has interacted with this lead and what actions have been taken. That's super important. So let's talk about all of the buttons there. There are a couple here that are crossed out in red. And the reason is those are, I believe, supposed to open up an email that gets sent. They appear to be broken right now. And I have compiled a list of the broken features and reporting it to National so that they can work on fixing it. But I cross those out. Don't use those buttons right now. So don't use the respond to lead. It doesn't do anything. I recommend texting people or just emailing them directly. The reassign button kicks the lead into pending reassignment. So that just kind of triggers and notifies your district that like this person needs to be reassigned to a different unit. Put it in your notes. Like if you know, oops, they meant to go to this other unit, or maybe they applied to a PAC as a 5th grader and they actually need to be in troop, then you can put that note in there and reassign it. The green ones, the close, lead, and complete, and the send application are probably the 3 buttons you'll use the most. So we talked about closing the leads and when to do that and to mark it as complete. And then send application. So a note on send application, this should not be your first response to that lead. Is to just send them an email that says here, register online. Really what you should do is wait to send that and ask them to apply until after they visited your unit or you've had contact with them and they've told you like, yes, we're going to join. Then it's appropriate to send them a link to ask them to join your unit. A note on the, Jim, go for it.
Question on the close a lead, like how long should a unit wait after just no response, you think, to close that?
I think I talked a little bit more about that, so let me circle back to it when I get there, because I think I have another slide for that.
Sorry.
Good question though, because I do want to address that. Before we move on though, I'm going to talk about the send SYT email button. It does work. It will send an email, but it will send an old YPT email with links to the YPT training, which they don't work. It gets you to a 404 page. So also been reported to national so that they can update that. But again, you don't need to use that link. If you need to have a leader do their SYT, then you can just text them the link or get them the link another way. We talked a little bit about notes, and how it's important. Basically, every action that you perform should be noted somewhere in the notes. So every time you attempt to reach out to them, anytime they reply back to you, make sure that it's noted in there. So if you don't put anything in your notes, even if you're following up on your leads and district goes in to check on a lead that's gone pending reassignment and there's nothing in there, it looks like you're not following up on your leads at all. Which may be true or may not be true. So it's just super important to let everybody in the process know where you are on following up with that lead. Okay, so there are some automatic things that happen in the system. When you open a lead, that's when it updates the status to open. When you click the send application button, that's when it automatically puts a note in there that it's updated to sent. The pending reassignment, I've had people get upset with me because they're like, stop making my lead go pending reassignment. I'm not doing anything. The system is doing that. It will do that, and the district can kick it back. However, with the invitation manager and leads, you still have access even if its status is pending reassignment. So you still have access to make notes and to close and complete the lead. You should. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. But they also get, so this is an example over here too of the email that is sent to them when you click the button that says send application. So sometimes it's nice to just know what the heck is being sent out. Of note, it does let them know that the national membership fee is $85 for youth, $65 for adult. It talks about subscribing to Scout Life magazine. It does not say how much your council fees are. It does say that your council may have a program fee. It doesn't list that out. So that's a good thing to note. Okay, respond to leads. Here's where I'll circle back to your question. So best practice is to strike while the iron is hot. So they've thought about it, they've looked it up. It's great if you respond immediately because we're trying to keep that ball rolling and keep that lead hot. So respond in a timely manner. I'm a huge proponent of always texting parents. Like the return text rate is so much higher than if you're just sending an email. So with that in mind, I have hopefully taken a whole bunch of the work and already done it by creating a bunch of texting templates. So when I was the new member coordinator for our PAC, I kept a running list of texting templates that I would send out to leads. And so I just opened my document up, copy. Let's see, I can pop this up, can I? So there's a link to this in here. But yeah, so this is like an example. And so when we got information, I would just pull this up. I would copy the text, fill in the kid's name or the adult's name, and make sure, like maybe sometimes I would be like, our next meeting is this date at this time. And then just send that off. And so it became, 30 seconds to respond to a lead when I got a new one in. Just go open the text, copy it, paste it, send it. Get back to my. I can't figure out how to make it big again. Oh well. So I also have one for the unit lead texting templates. So the district lead texting templates, because there's the units and the text that you send out to your leads. And then if you're working at a district level, like membership chair or maybe a DE, and you're following up on leads, I also have texting templates for the district level. So I would kind of help keep the ball rolling with leads and follow up with them. But a number of times I have texted with leads and been like, hey, has anybody reached out to you from this unit, or have you been visiting units or found one that you like? And sometimes they will be like, I have not heard anything from this lead, but then or from this unit, and then I'll follow up with the unit leader, and the unit leader will be like, I texted or I emailed them like twice and never heard anything back. So that's where I'm like, please text your leads. You can send an email with all your information, but also send them a text, because emails will get lost and not seen. text usually gets seen pretty immediately. And I would recommend keeping your text short, ask an easy question, get them to engage with you. And then I would follow up weekly or every 2 weeks. And then to answer Rick's question, how long should you be doing this? Just know that it may take 2 or 3 or 4 attempts before they actually respond to you. And sometimes it'll be text coming from the unit leader, and then they'll not get anything, and so they'll let me know, and then I will reach out to them directly and interact with them. And then by that time, they've gotten 6 or 7 weeks of maybe a text a week, and finally they'll respond. My final step, if we've gotten absolutely no communication from them whatsoever, is to ask them like, hey, is your child's name still interested in scouting? That almost always gets a response. And usually it's like, nope, my kid signed up for soccer, we've moved on. But more often than not, it's parents going, yes, life happened. I'm meaning to, yes, we're still interested. And then it gets the conversation kind of started or restarted and going. But the ultimate goal is to basically to get them in the door. So be inviting them to a meeting or a guest friendly unit event. Just get them in the door where you can have a face-to-face and actually connect with them.
Quick question here.
Yep.
Just reading a comment here from Jim. Where did you find these pre-filled letters that get sent out to the units? Because he was saying it'd be nice if the units could receive a copy of all these auto responses.
So these are auto responses sent out by the Be a Scout, My.Scouting, Be a Scout system. They come from national because unless council has any control of it.
No.
Nope. Okay.
No.
So they come from national. So what I did is I basically poked the system. I created fake leads and I created fake applications so that it would send me what it sends everybody else. And then I copied and pasted it. So I've been poking the system. Trying to figure out what it looks like on the other end of it. I've also learned too that depending on your role, the buttons that you have available to you are going to be different. And so I'm working with the council registrar, Sherry. She will often ask me like, she'll be like, oh, you just click this button. And I'm like, I don't have that button, Sherry. Because Sherry has all the buttons. She is omnipotent and has everything. So sometimes there'll be different buttons and different views that you see based on your role. But yeah, so I included the screenshots of what the leads get to, because most people don't ever see that part of it from the unit side. Okay, so you've got them to come to a meeting. Fantastic. Make sure that you designate someone to welcome visitors. That's super important. First time I walked into a PAC meeting, people stared at me awkwardly and were like, who are you and what are you doing here? It was not a great first experience. So make sure that you have somebody welcome people in. It's super important. Greet them on their first visit with a welcome packet. So I have put my welcome packet out there for several years as just templatized it. There's a link here and this will all go out post-meeting. We can send out the video, but also I'm hoping the slides too, so that people can have all the hot links. So there's a template of our welcome packet, which looks like this, and we can go through all the things that are in there, but that just lays out everything. And the goal was to try and provide them with all the information they might need to make the decision on committing to your unit, especially if one parent gets sent in with the kids and then they have to go back and convince the other parent that they want to join. This is super helpful. Another best practice is to make sure that you have guests sign in at all meetings and events. And so when I was doing new member coordinator, if you came into our unit at the PAC and you weren't registered, I had you sign in. And that way I could track how many times that a kid had been in to visit. And by about the third time they visited, I would be having conversations with parents about registering, or if there were barriers to registering, and then we'd pursue financial aid. And then I would have a laptop handy and we could literally sit down and I could just walk them right through it to make it as easy as possible. So here's a new member packet. And like I said, there's templates available for all of this and people can just copy it and change it for their unit just to make this as easy as possible. So things that are in the new member packet or that you should include and communicate to your families. Welcome letter. So communication methods, how to contact leaders, links to Scout book, My.Scouting.org training, your website, social media groups, all those need to know things. An annual calendar or list of annual events. uniform and handbook info, that's super important, that has the cost of all the items that they'll need to buy, because it's like, oh, you have to register. Oh, there's unit dues, and then, oh, there's uniform, oh, there's handbook. And so when parents are like, what's the all-in cost? It really kind of sucks to keep getting hit with all these like, and you have to buy this and this and this. So the page I put together details out everything you'll need for the uniform and the handbook and the overall cost, which is super helpful. And then I have a membership cost and fundraising info page that you can pull information off and redo how it works for your unit. We digitized our skills and talent survey. And then there's a link to our online form so you can see what that looks like. But for us, that worked really good at PAC, because then we could ask people like, how many hours a week or a month would they be able to volunteer, what their skill set was, and then when we had needs, we could just go to our database and look through and see who had indicated that they were interested in welcome team or program or den leader or whatever. And then on the packet, I also had a QR code to our unit pin, which led them to registration, and then also included med forms. And for Cub Scouts, because those are usually just A and B, I had A and B in there. That's why it says med forms A and B. And I have examples here in person if anybody wants to look at our new member packets. So I wanted to touch on financial aid because not everybody knows. I feel like a lot of people know about Camp for All and summer camp financial aid, but there is registration assistance financial aid. So if you have somebody and you're like, I've been texting with people before and they're like, we don't have the money to, it's too expensive. I'm like, great, I have a text template for that where I copy and paste it. I'm like, great news, Scouting America has financial aid available. And I lead them into that conversation and put the link in, and that helps keep the ball rolling because we don't want anybody not to join just because of money. Like we have resources around that. So with the financial aid, the process is for the new form that parents have to fill out an online financial aid application, one per person. So if you have 3 kids you're trying to get registered, you'll need to fill out the form 3 times. CPC will, when it gets approved, will email a discount code to the parent. This often gets sorted into junk mail. So that happens occasionally. I think it comes from something called Zoho, Z-O-H-O. And if you search your email for that, sometimes that'll find it. If they haven't gotten it, you can follow up with your district executive or your membership chair probably to find out what happened with it and if there was a code that was sent. Once the parent gets a code, it expires within 7 days. So you want to encourage the family to sign up and register within a week. If the code does expire, it's okay. Sherry can extend it. So you can let your membership person know or Sherry know to ask them to extend it. So it's fixable, but it's kind of nice to be like, this code expires in a week. Make sure you register and get that ball rolling.
We just went through that. We hadn't had that before, and we just had a scout. And it was a bit of a hiccup because we couldn't get a hold of Sherry, and we couldn't they wouldn't know what to do exactly. But I knew that a scholarship was available, and then I don't think it's never a full scholarship, and that's what the family needed.
Very rarely have I seen a full scholarship. Very rarely.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay.
So anyway, so it was an interesting process to very recently go through that. And I think that our troop just must have covered it or something, but.
Okay. Yeah, Sherry has got a lot on her plate and is very busy. And I've heard that from people that she's hard to get a hold of. So one of the things I'm trying to do is at least in my district is come to me with the questions first. Let's see if I can answer them. If I can't answer them, then I'll take them up to the DE. If between the 2 of us we can't answer them, then we escalate them to Sherry to try and hit off if there's any of those that we can solve.
Do you know approximately how much is covered? Is it 20%?
It depends on the need of the family.
Oh, okay.
So there's different funds we have access to. So it depends on what we can do. Alex, by the way, your slides are not showing anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, maybe all your guests are gone. No, they're there, 15 of them.
There's a secondary contact if Sherry isn't available.
You can call the front office or your district executive.
I don't want to do it on. I need to share. Down. Is it showing?
No,
Nope.
it's showing a big picture of my face. No one came here for that.
You're trying to reconnect your audio. I don't want that. Do you want to come look at my?
Yeah.
Getting disconnected. Oh no.
Oh, trying to reconnect. You know what? I got the slides pulled up on mine. I can just share.
Yeah, you do.
Just tell me if I flip.
But the interesting thing will be if they can hear her, because it says that she's connecting to audio.
Well, we're running everything off the room, so let me share my screen and
I
we'll go from there.
exited it. Oh, and it says register.
Let's see.
Click on slide.
So you can't be reached. Okay, I kicked myself out of the meeting. Alrighty.
We're past this slide.
We were all the way past financial aid.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yep, we're gonna go there. Financial aid.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, are there any questions on financial aid? I think we got that covered. Okay, let's go ahead and advance. Okay, so if we circle back to where we were, where they found your unit, they had two options to choose, where they request more information about your unit, or they could apply online. So they've hit the apply online button, and now you've got an application. So this is the email that gets generated to your unit contact. Or no, you have applications. Yes, take action on applications in Application Manager. That's literally the subject line of the email that gets generated and sent to the units. So let's talk about who can accept applications. For youth, Key 3 delegates and your new member coordinators can accept youth applications. It's different for adults. For adults, only your chartered org rep or your chartered org rep delegate can accept adult applications. Go ahead. All right, so this is your application manager. So you've gone into, you've either followed the link from the email that you got sent, or you can go into My.Scouting menu and go into your application manager. So this is your dashboard, the top half of it. And this is the unit level. So it just gives you an overall summary of total applications, those in progress, total closed, total completed, with a lovely little pie chart. Let's go ahead and continue, because we'll talk about, so this is the district level snapshot. So obviously there's a lot more leads on here, and this is showing Timberline District. It's a similar sort of a snapshot. Now we can continue. Okay, so if you scroll down, and this is the district level, so there's a lot here, and I blacked out the last name so you can't see. But this shows all of your open applications and the different statuses they're in. Some features that are nice is you can search. So if you know you're looking for a particular applicant, you can search by first or last name. You can also sort by columns. So this is super handy if you are doing membership, like membership chair at the district level, and you're texting maybe your unit leaders and like, hey, you've got so many applicants. So it's nice if you click the little unit and sort, and then it'll put all of your, I think it's pre-sorted by how the aging summary. So the oldest appears first. And I like to sort it by unit so that I can see all of the leads to a certain unit at a time. And then of note, there are, obviously you can see there's youth in there and also adult in there. There's a little icon that indicates them. And then there's an SYT status for the ones that are adults. Yep, and you can see their expiration. And then there's a column for transfer and multiple. So the N that you see, that's because that application is a multipled. And obviously if somebody transfers, it'll show up as a T.
There was a question, and I think you probably get to this later. Is there a way to auto accept youth?
Ooh.
I believe it's in
I
settings.
think that there is, but if I remember correctly, I don't do that intentionally because I want to make sure before somebody is accepted into our unit that I've actually talked with them and had a conversation and made sure that our unit is a good fit for them, and also made sure that they understand the financial commitment. Because we've had people, when I first came on, before I started being new member coordinator, we had somebody apply online to our PAC. Paid the stuff online, came in, and then found out that there were PAC dues. And they were like, that's a bait and switch. I thought I had paid for everything, and I come in and now you tell me that it's going to be several $100s more for both my kids. And they got so mad that they left and never came back. So from that point on, my best practice has been do not accept applications from people you have never met before. Like, make sure they can apply online. You can let it sit there and make sure you get them in the door and have a conversation with them. I do believe there is a setting, but it's not what I would recommend as a best practice. Okay, let's go ahead and advance to the next screen. Okay, so there is a filter view, which I found very handy. So that little upside down triangle opens up this filter, and that's the little snapshot here. And you can filter by adult or youth, and you can set the dates you want to filter from, and then you can filter by the different statuses. I found that handy to filter and look at who has closed and completed apps, because there's a disconnect between invitation manager and application manager. So you can have somebody complete and register as a scout, and they can still have an active lead that's open. And so the problem with that is that you can then be following, I can message a lead and be like, hey, are you interested in scouting? And they're like, well, we joined a PAC 2 months ago. And then you look kind of silly, like you don't even know that this kid is a member of your organization. And so I will try and, as a district person, go through and search before I reach out to leads and just make sure that they don't have a closed or completed application. That's my double check, because that's the access that I have. So are there any questions about that? I think I covered a little bit more as we go on. So if not now, we'll catch it. Go ahead and advance. Okay, so let's talk about the statuses. The first one is a big one. There's been a massive change. So when people used to apply online, it would not record it as an application until they had paid. Now there is a new status called initiated. So it will track an application as soon as they start it. It'll go through the parent information, the youth information, and the third page is the payment information. So if your application is initiated, but it has not been paid, that means that they have gone in, entered their information, got to the payment page where it tells them how much it is to register, and they've stopped there. The good news is this is a lead. This is where they have gone in and they're interested in scouting enough to go and find a unit and to find out how much it costs, but that's where it stopped. So I would say treat that as a lead. So we just cycle back to all of the information on how to follow up with the lead from Invitation Manager. You treat this as the same way with an initiated app. Pending acceptance. So that is a completed online application. It's just waiting for the unit to accept it. Pending acknowledgement is adult applicant has answered yes to a screening question and they're waiting for council to approve it. And then these next two I've not actually seen, but this is what I was told that they mean. Pending applicant agreement has been reassigned to a different unit, and then the applicant has to acknowledge that change. And then the applicant response is where an application has been sent back to the applicant and there's some more information that they have to fill out. I've not seen those last two, so it's not something that comes
Oh,
up.
I have one on my screen right now.
Do you have it? You do? Which one do you have?
Pending applicant response.
Oh, okay. I have not seen that one before. I may want to see
It's a
that.
dupe, like they sent 2 multiples in.
Oh, okay. The same
And
exact
then
one.
apparently they send the second app back to them.
Interesting.
And so it's just been sitting there.
Huh.
For a long time.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sherry says she does see that from time to time. I would, what district are you in?
River's Edge.
River's Edge, okay, so.
That's
you. You're looking at that one. All right, so then we're into pending reassignment. So it used to be when I first started doing this, that applications would time out after 7 days, which annoyed the heck out of me because if you're at PAC and you get an application in and you're like, you've never seen them and you're like, okay, great, why don't you come to the meeting next week, we'll get you all the information. So by the time they get to the meeting the following week, their application is timed out and it's gone pending reassignment. And then you couldn't accept that app. You would have to go ask your DE or somebody to kick it back to your unit to accept it. The good news is I gave them this feedback and I'm sure they got it from a bunch of different people too. And it seems they have changed because I have not seen applications go pending reassignment lately. So that's great, which means that the unit is able to take as long as it needs to get that person in there and accept the application. Pending. Somebody's doing notes. Oh, Sherry's notes.
Yeah.
Doing notes. Okay. Pending review is applications not accepted by the unit and are awaiting council review. So that covers most of the pending status. Let's advance and then we can go into some of them some more. So this is an initiated application. This is where I poke the system and I put a fake kid in there. That kid, you know the one. And so it shows the youth name and it shows the status as initiated and that you should treat that as a lead. The phone number and email are for the parent or the guardian. It does not show the parent or guardian's name. It shows the kid's name. If you click into the parent or what I think it says guardian information, number 2, then it'll pull up the parent's name with all of their information. Likewise for youth, if you click on that, it'll pull up the information. You can't click on number 3, that's the payment information. So that only appears if they have paid and it's a completed app. What else do we got? You can download the application as far as it's been completed. I have X'd out the links for sending emails, it looks like. Yeah, because those don't work. There's one that says send the email unit key 3, I think. That also does not work. So your options are pretty much to close it when it's an initiated app, but you also have all of the notes there. So that's where you should be writing notes in there of how you're reaching out to that lead and any responses that you get. Let's advance. Okay, so this is that page number 3 when they apply online or they go to fill out the online application. This is the page that initiated apps are stopping at. This is the payment page. So this shows you the costs. It shows you the national and it shows you the council fee. There's a small admin fee and then it shows you Scout Life magazine and there's a little pitch for that. It default checks the Scout Life magazine box. So if you have 3 kids, unless you want 3 subscriptions coming to your house, you need to make sure that you unselect that or only have it selected for 1 kid. Likewise, any adults that go to register, it will default check that box for adults. So if you have 3 kids and then an adult that registers as a den leader, they're going to get 4 copies of Scout Life. Not that we had that happen or anything. So make sure when you tell your adults are like, yeah, I'm going to volunteer, let's register. Cool. Make sure you don't pay an extra $15 when you don't have to. And then you can see below that the spot for the discount code. So when they request financial aid, they get the discount code. That's where you plug it in down there. So this is the page that the initiated apps are stopping at. I feel like that's a good thing to know and people don't often see that. Are there any questions on this? Otherwise, we can advance. Okay, so now we move on to accepting youth applications. So they have filled out an online application, they have paid, and then you have these 3 buttons. You can accept, assign, reassign, or do not accept. So obviously, if you can accept them in your unit, you just click that button and then they appear in your roster within 24 hours, which is fantastic because back when we used to have paper apps, it would take a very, very long time. And now it takes less than 24 hours, which is fantastic for it to show up on your roster. If you determine that an application cannot be accepted by your unit, make a note in your application notes. And then basically what we're telling people to do is to reach out for assistance with the next step, because what we recommend is so specific based on the scenario that we couldn't list them all out. So here's like an escalation ladder. Start with your district membership chair, if you have one, to see if they can advise you or take it from there. If you don't have one, you can go up to your district executive. If you don't have one of those, then you can bump it up to Sherry, the council registrar. And she asked that you, because anybody that can access that application can see the notes, please, if you are pursuing not accepting somebody into your unit, be discreet with what notes you put in there, because there's personal information, right? So you can write notes as like, hey, we're gonna have a meeting about this, or we have concerns or something, but don't detail out all of the concerns or any personal information in that notes. Just know that a number of different people can see that application and the notes that correspond with it. Are there any questions on that?
We got a question came up, I think it's for the previous slide.
Okay, yeah.
On the email settings, do you recommend including fee emails?
Great question. I'm gonna circle back to that. There's a slide for it. So
Okay.
I'll circle back to that when we get there. Let's go ahead and advance. Okay, so I touched a little bit on this about youth leads moving to applications and the connectivity between invocation and application manager, or kind of lack thereof. So it does not automatically close out invitation leads for a youth that completes an application. Sometimes so like I said, when it shows up in invitation manager, it shows as the parent's name. When it shows up in application manager, it shows up as the youth name. And so you're looking at two different names, and sometimes the youth and the adult don't even have the same last name. And so it's hard to match those together, and you have to go in and manually look. Like I said, if you're at the district level, before I reach out to a lead, because I've been burned several times, I will go and check completed and closed applications before I go ahead and reach out to an invitation manager lead for somebody that I don't know. So.
Yeah, another question came up here too.
Yep.
When an adult applies to a pack or a troop, does it automatically go through a background check?
It does kick it in because it does have to go through a background check process. So let's advance, because I think I get to that soon. There you go, adult applications, fantastic. Okay, so this is a filtered view. So I've gone ahead and selected the little upside down triangle. I have filtered by just the adults so that I can just be looking at adults. And from there you can see SYT status, and you can see the expiration dates. The top two are current, and then the bottom three have never taken SYT. So as a district membership chair, I have a text template that I copy and I send to these people that says, hey, thanks for volunteering with this unit. You'll need to complete SYT in order to complete processing your volunteer application, and then I send a link. So I try to make it as easy as possible for them to know exactly where to go to complete their SYT training. It takes 90 minutes to complete, and I will maybe I'll look this up weekly and then just kind of send a reminder out to people that have never taken it, or if I've already texted them before, I'll just ask them like, hey, or let me know if you have any problems accessing the training. And usually after a few of those or a few weeks, they'll get it done. So that's what I recommend with SYT.
Is there an automatic email that's sent if they do the application, if they're missing that?
That is a good question. I don't think so.
I think the unit usually has to remind them to do that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any sort of automatic thing. I know that so Chris Bartel has just set up a new CRM program, and one of the conversations we're having is, can we automate this? Like, it seems like something that should be easy to automate, right? You have an adult register that should be like, okay, do they have active SYT? If not, then shoot out this email. So that's something we are pursuing because it would save some time. Yeah.
One thing I'll add on adult applications, and maybe this is unique, but one thing that I tend to see, So keep in mind that the adult application goes to the charter org rep or their delegate.
Mhm.
A lot of certain charter org reps are more engaged than others. And so this is an area where I've seen a lot of adult applications stall, is because it is a different process than maybe we're used to on the membership side. And so going in, and Alex showed earlier, having that charter org delegate, and maybe having that as the new member person, or having it as somebody that's a little bit more active in the unit, just to make sure that those kind of keep moving and don't get stalled if it is a charter org rep that's maybe not as engaged as the rest of the adults in the unit.
Yeah, and I've got a few more tips on the slide that we'll get to that
Sorry,
talks
Alex.
about that too. No, it's good. It means I'm on top of anticipating all these things. Okay. Are there any other questions on around like SYT or adult applications? If not, we can go ahead and advance. Okay, so I've listed out, so like I said, the people who can accept adult applications are chartered org reps or your chartered org rep delegate. So things that slow down the acceptance of adult apps, because the number of times I've gotten somebody that says, I want to go on the camp out this weekend. Can I get this through? And it's like, dude, that's in 48 hours. So the volunteer has to complete SYT. That's a 90-minute online course. That's totally doable in a day. I don't recommend people put it off to the last minute, because we have seen the system go down and people unable to log in and complete SYT, hours before they need to leave for a camp out.
I've seen with SYPT, but YPT, that sometimes the completion letter would take up to 2 days to show up.
Yeah, so I would tell people we've had that happen before, where people have completed SYT and then they don't have a copy of the certificate and it takes a while to load. So I would tell people it'll show you at the end some sort of a completion validation. And so I'll be screenshot that just in case it doesn't populate, or just in case, for example, you happen to have multiple accounts and the application you set in is tied to a different email than the one that you took your training on. So to send a screenshot, because then we can go in and add it into the system in the right place if needed. So I always tell people that before they complete their course, take a screenshot showing it's completed, and then you can send it to me or whoever needs to get it. Background check is included in the adult applications. I would say allow 2 weeks. I have seen them come in quicker, but I don't know how often you guys batch send them in. Does either one of you know how often background checks get sent in?
They get sent in as soon as I think they get accepted.
Okay.
It's really quick.
Okay.
And then it can take up to 2 weeks.
Okay.
We usually tell at least 5 days, depending how clean the background checks are.
Great.
If he has one anticipated problems, it might take even up to a month.
Yeah, we've had it take a couple of months, and I'll explain why, because we found some interesting bugs. So if they don't have anything self-reported on the background check and the background check is totally clean, it does move a lot faster. If there's something that comes up, and sometimes it can be a 20-year-old something that's ancient history, it still has to go to council for review. The unit has to accept whatever the issue is. The council has to review it and acknowledge it. I think I was told originally that the council reviews are done maybe every 2 weeks or so-ish, depending on how many are in the queue. And then the last one is the chartered org rep is unavailable to accept the app. Or maybe they have tech issues and it's taking them a while. And so this is why our best practice recommendation is to assign a COR delegate, somebody that could step in if your COR becomes unavailable. I have seen some unfortunate circumstances where I had 4 adult volunteers waiting to be accepted to a unit, and the chartered org rep had a stroke. And there was nobody that could go in and accept adults. And that caused a real big problem. And it was around unit renewal. So it's just a whole thing. But assigning a COR delegate helps alleviate that choke point of only one person being able to do that. The other thing to point out is that we have discovered, apparently there's a scouting app and you can accept applications from the scouting app. I don't use it because I've encountered so many issues with the app. We've encountered a specific issue where if you have an adult that had a background check issue that had to be acknowledged, you are completely unable to accept that app via the scouting app. That caused us to take 3 months to figure out. And because sometimes it would work. He'd be able to accept some adults, but not others. And we figured out it was specifically if there was a background issue, then the button to like accept wouldn't pop up. It would just keep asking him over and over to acknowledge it. And he was like, I've acknowledged this 10 times. So I'm just like, don't use the Scouting app to accept adult apps. Just go into the browser or on your computer. We can go ahead and move on. Okay, anticipating when a paper application is needed, because there's a few instances where you cannot register online. The major ones are when a youth turns 18 and they want to transition to an adult membership. They still have an active membership. They don't need to pay again. They just need to fill out a paper application and get that into Sherry. If you are registering as a chartered org rep, even if you are already a registered member, you still need to fill out a paper application and get that into Sherry. Special note on executive officer. So this is like your unit renewal. They don't use a paper adult application. They use the new unit application. And what Sherry has told me is you cross off the unit part of the new unit application and you write EO or executive officer on the top half, and then you have them complete the bottom half of the form. So those are like the special circumstances. There's no questions, we can advance. Okay, so now we're going to circle back to email settings, because the email settings, these come into play when somebody has applied to your unit. And so there's two emails that can be sent out, a fee email and a welcome email. So with the fee email, I've been asked to point out to units to make sure they understand that unit fees cannot be collected with your online national registration. So those unit fees are separate and have to be paid directly to the unit. And apparently this is a thing that comes up where people think that registering online, they can somehow collect unit level fees and pass them to the unit. They cannot. So let's advance to the next slide. When we talk about the fee email, so this is generated if you have that check marked on, and then it's distributed when an application is submitted to your unit. So there's that cell there where you can include any additional information on fees, like if you have quarterly unit fees or an annual fee, what it goes for, all that information that you might want to communicate to somebody when they apply to your unit. If you communicate something in that text box that is super specific and may change later, you need to make sure that you are maintaining that information and updating it, because it would really suck if you are auto-generating an email that says our annual cost is $60, and then you guys the next year have to raise it to $100, and then they say online says 60, and they walk in the door and you're like, hey, it's $100. That's kind of a bait and switch feel. So we're trying to make sure that we avoid that. So if you put specific information in there, make sure that you're reviewing it and update it regularly. If we go to the next one, that'll talk about.
Looks like the default is not checked.
Okay, thank you. Also of note, so while your new member coordinator can update your PIN settings, they cannot change the email settings. Only your key 3 can do that, or your key 3 delegate. So you can just leave them toggled off so it's not auto sending emails that you then have to make sure are current and accurate. So the welcome email is distributed when an application is moved to approved. So that's when your unit has accepted it. So you could share kind of a generic like welcome to our unit, any contact information you need. But again, if your letter includes say like your Scoutmaster's name and his contact information, and then your Scoutmaster changes, you need to make sure that you change and update that. So those are just important. Make sure you maintain it. You don't have to use these. You can just keep them unchecked, and you can make sure that you're communicating that in person with a welcome packet that has all the information too. So just be aware, because I didn't know our units was toggled on and it was sending out 3-year-old Scoutmaster information on our unit, and I had no idea. So it's a good thing. So the handout that we've given out goes through step by step of basically reviewing your settings and email settings, what they are all are, as well as your unit PIN settings. Let's go ahead and advance. Okay, cool. So once a Scout registers, I always had an onboarding checklist. And so this is like, great. keeping the ball rolling and making sure that the support doesn't stop when they register, that you're making sure you're getting them onboarded to your unit. So I would have a list that I would check mark through that started with accepting the online application and then collecting any unit fees. If you have any unit swag, like pack shirts or troop hats and neckerchiefs, et cetera, making sure they get that. If your unit uses communication apps or however they communicate with, making sure you send an invite and get the parents and or scouts connected to whatever that communication app is. Connecting the parents to Scoutbook. This was an important one at the Cub Scout level because the parents can go in and mark off adventures, but they have to make sure that they actually get on Scoutbook and are connected to their youth. So that was an important one. We have our family talent survey digitized, and so we had a QR code to that in our welcome thing. And so I would go through and mark off these things and be like, have they filled out a talent survey yet? And then in talking to them and, looking at what they report as their skills and talents, once you get to know the parents, you can identify like where they would be best to help in your unit, and then have specific asks for them that work really good for them.
We got a question here.
Yes.
In Spirit Lake, they have a girl moving from a troop, from a girls' troop to a family troop. They all show as transfer. Do the unit need to go in and close/accept these?
So if you're transferring from one unit to another, and we just did this because our boys and our girls troops merged, and I had to do transfer for all of the girls and transfer them into the new main unit. So yes, you'll have to transfer them and then you'll have to accept them. So for the youth, then your key 3 and your new member coordinator can accept those. But for your adults that are transferring over, if that's a situation that you have, then your COR delegate has to approve those.
Thank you.
Yes. Are there other questions about onboarding? Otherwise, we can move forward. So one of the things I always talked about, and if you were here last month for the training, the dynamic recruiting, which is just to always be recruiting. So having a unit that's open to accepting new scouts at any point in the year, and always inviting. Basically every meeting or event should be an opportunity where you can invite people, friends, visitors to come in and like hands-on see what scouting looks like. A thing that I was still encountering is that most non-scouting families still think that it's just a camping program. And it's so much more than that, obviously, as we know. A special note for Cub Scouts, when we were having scouts interested in joining the pack at the end of the spring or the end of the school year, there were den leaders that were like, but they're not going to be able to make rank. How are we supposed to get them to make rank? These are new people to scouting. They don't know enough about advancement to care if their scout is making rank, very likely. They still can complete adventures and get the belt loops and those things. So it was something basically that I just tell people, like, I wouldn't worry about it for Cub Scouts. Let them join, let them get in the door, let them start having fun. They can participate in whatever summer activities or summer program you have, and they could have the rank conversation at the next year, and that's where they start, and it's fine. Most importantly,
advancement is just one of the methods of scouting. It's not the end all be all.
Yeah. But it was something
Especially Cubs, it's
important
to just get them in.
It's something that came up constantly though, as we had scouts that were like, the den leaders would kind of panic and be like, but it's March, or it's April or May, and we're almost done. How am I supposed to get them to make rank by our ceremony? It's like, it doesn't matter. They can earn pins, they can participate and have fun. That's what really matters. Go ahead and advance. Okay, so this is my plug for new member coordinator and what we're looking for. So should be somebody, this is your point of contact for new families, helps integrate them into the unit. I love it when I have a new member coordinator to contact with, because when I'm following up with units who have leads and they're not following up with them, generally it's because it's a scout master or a cub master who is wearing 20 different hats. And one of them is they should also be following up on leads. They literally don't have time to. So sometimes I feel bad as I'm poking them and I'm like, I know you're busy, but you have leads, you have people that want to join. So really passionate about having new member coordinators. those units that do have new member coordinators, it seems like they have a much easier time with recruitment because that's one person and that's their job. And they can focus it exclusively on that. So something of note, plain or welcome clothes. So uniforms can be intimidating if you're not used to scouting. I've been told the uniforms can be intimidating. I also got really interesting feedback recently where like different ethnic communities, because of things that have been going on recently, feel really uncomfortable around people in uniforms, especially military style uniforms. So we had a new recruitment banner that we printed recently, and it very intentionally avoided using pictures of scouts in uniform because it can have a negative connotation with some communities. So plain or welcome clothes for your new member coordinators are recommended, which is great because a lot of times it's new parents stepping up and they're like, I don't want to wear a uniform, it feels weird. So that's fine, they don't have to. So you're looking for somebody that's outgoing, personality, welcoming, friendly, or just your person that is always standing at the door chatting with parents as they come in. That's your new member coordinator. That's who you want to ask. Also, as I've said, scouting experience is not required. I knew absolutely nothing. When my husband told me that I was going to be our new member coordinator, I thought I was going to have to develop an elevator pitch and like sell scouting to people. And I didn't. We had a great program with Cub Master and den leaders that knew what they're doing. And it was literally welcoming them in, making them feel comfortable about coming into a strange new space and a new program and handing them off to the leaders. And like, that was it. I didn't have to pitch it. I didn't have to sell it. So you don't really have to know anything about scouting in order to do this new member coordinator. You just have to be friendly and be willing to help people out. So there's some training. This is kind of the webinars that I use to inform myself. Scouting Wire has a couple of good ones. And then Cub Chat Live, I highly recommend. They often have recruiting and marketing and new member type focused chats, and that's like Fridays at noon, but they also record them and you can go in and watch past ones. I found those super helpful as well. And then you can interact with them as they're having their stuff too and ask them questions, which is great. Unless there's questions about new member coordinators. If you've got anybody, send them my way. I will train them. All the resources. And of course, I want to make a touch on note on, we're talking about recruitment and registration, but the flip side of that coin is retention. So we can recruit until we're blue in the face, but if we're not keeping these scouts, it's kind of, we're just going to, it's like holes in a bucket. So building a relationship with the parents as well as the scouts. We've found out that we've noticed that scouts with engaged parents tend to stay in the program longer. So that's important. And for families to feel a sense of belonging, and then they're less likely to drift away. Best practices are, if you've got scouts that are missing meeting, like reach out to them, see if you can find out why. Is there some need that maybe your pack can meet? Does something happen that you can provide food baskets, or just check in with them and see if they're doing okay? When I put this together, I think like 5 years ago, I don't know if this is still true, the average length of time a scout is registered was 1.3 years. And at that time, they were registering in September, and then they would be registered for the following year, and then they wouldn't register again, which means basically they were in the program for about a year. So taking a look when you have a high turnover and scouts leaving, evaluating why scouts are leaving, and then see if there's any addressable issues in your unit that you can improve upon. I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
Yeah, I'll add
to
too, is one of the things I've noticed that keeps the kids in the program year after year is getting them to a camp experience over the summer. It's when we go into the schools, you know, we talk about these kids be able to shoot BB guns, go shoot archery, go ride horses, painting for gold and stuff like that. And they'll, you know, those promises that we make, if we can't fulfill them, they're going to get bored. So being able to get them to a camp. And I know our local camps were built around, designed around the den program. So it doesn't have to be the whole pack going out once. Take your den out to camp. Take, you know, we have the, you know, Butte Creek for the younger kids. And then for the 4th, 5th graders, go for the week over at the Baldwin Adventure.
Yeah, and I will follow up with that. We did notice that that scouts that sign up and go to summer camp, they are more likely to stick around, to the point where we could actually kind of identify when it was time to sign up for summer camp, which families were going to end up drifting away and not renewing the following year, and it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, the other thing I liked as a leader, going to camps with the units has been identifying potential other leaders that go with the camp with their kids, because they get really excited. You can get some new help for the next
Yeah.
year just by spending a week with those adults.
Oh yeah, we would come back from summer camp and have adults that were like, all right, sign me up. I'm ready to be a den leader. So just getting them engaged and in the thick of it. Yeah, that's a real good way. I don't remember if I had anything past that. We got through my bonus slides even. Nice. Okay, so this is just a QR code so you can have quick access to the slideshow, and then you'll be able to click on all of the hot links in it. And then I've also hot linked last month's training that they did here too, so you can watch that training video because it ties in real nicely with it's like going out and recruiting year round, and then you get the leads that come in, and then this is all about following up on your leads and applications. So I would be happy to just open the floor if there's any Q&A. The questions I didn't touch on, I will do my best to answer them, or we can chat about them. Is there any online stuff?
I think the only thing we haven't quite answered online, it was more for Christy, if you let us know who that person was online that had that weird application.
Yeah.
We can get it taken care of. Sherry was asking for it.
Oh, okay, I sent to Deb, I don't have permissions to delete her,
Yeah.
and so.
Yeah, Sherry was just saying online, if you consider her name, she can take care of it.
Perfect.
I'll text.
8:20, I nailed it on the time. All right, yeah, if there's any other Q&A questions, and then my contact information's on the front of the slideshow, I think my email and everything, so if people have questions afterwards or want to reach out, I'm happy to help. I plan on teaching, this was the first time I put this class together and run it, so thank you for being my guinea pigs. Hopefully this was helpful. I plan to teach this again at University of Scouting, so if you have any feedback, I would love that so that I can amend and add things in as needed before I teach this at University of Scouting.
You know, I'm just seeing there's two things that just popped up. Or a couple things here. Do you have recruiting number, or do your recruiting numbers have trends during the year?
Yeah, so like Scout for PAX, obviously the fall is when we see a lot of new youths come into PAX. But as Alex said, continuing to recruit around the year round is really important. The units that have the biggest growth among PAX that I see are the ones that continue to, not just treat it as kind of August through October, but that are continuing to do those activities that, are covered in that dynamic year-round recruiting link that Alex was just talking about. So I encourage people to watch that. But that's, real helpful. Troops, some of their biggest increases, some in the fall, but really around crossover time. Because keep in mind that troops, over half of the new youth coming into troops are coming from the Cub program. And so, they'll see a lot around crossover. But again, continuing to recruit year round there and having activities is also important because, way more than even in PAX, you can start in and start working on your trail to first class and, get to Eagle, no matter what time of year you started in the troop and get all the way there.
I will say too, there was definitely a trend when I was at the PAC where as we're wrapping up our scout year, the end of the school year, and the weather warms up, we would start getting leads. And it's because the weather's getting nice, people are thinking about getting outdoors, they're thinking about camping, and then they think about scouting. And a lot of Cub Scout packs, or at least at that time, actually did not run a summer program. They'd run one during the school year, and then needing a break, they would take a break during the summertime. And unfortunately, then you'd have people looking for scouting, and there's no program during the summer. So that was a trend that I did see. So I just wanted to tap in, like it is important, even if you're not running your usual weekly meetings during the summer, to run some sort of recruiting or opportunities during the summer.
Yeah, I would say at least meet at a park. You don't have to offer a program, get the families together, the kids go play, share a meal, just keep that community built.
Yeah, our troop does we meet on Mondays, so we do Monday fun days in the summer. And so we try and get our leaders to take a break, and we ask our other parents so that maybe don't usually take on a leadership role to step up and take a Monday and be like, what do you want to do? And they'll pick like bowling or a day at the park or something like that. And so we may not get all of our Mondays filled, but we'll get a chunk of them filled enough that there are events going on where people can invite their friends during the summer to come do this fun event with our pack or our troop.
Another comment here is that Alex recruited our family. It took her 2 years before we showed up, so don't give up on a lead.
That's awesome. That's like one of my, I wonder if that's the one I'm thinking of. The leads in here of invitation manager, they disappear after 90 days. I keep a separate tracker, or I kept a separate tracker when I was in the pack, because leads come in through more than just be a scout. They'll come in through your social media, through somebody just texting or calling you. They'll come in through Facebook Messenger. And so I would have leads coming in from all these different ways. So I created a tracker. And then even as they disappeared off Be a Scout, every year in the fall, we would have an open house. And so if I had a lead that like never ended up kind of appearing to an event, in the fall, I would just send out cold leads. It's like, hey, we got an open house again. And the longest lead I think I ever had was 3 years on a cold lead, where I invited the family back, and their older child had come, decided it wasn't for them, but I kept inviting them until what was originally the baby at the time was old enough to join Scouts. And so I didn't get the older kid, but I 3 years later got the younger kid that was then old enough, which is wild.
That is awesome. And I'm looking at, other times, you recruit, anytime there's a change in the season, especially sports, families are always looking for things to do. And especially in Oregon, with outdoor school, if you figure out where your school district's doing that, you might be able to figure out how to help train your families for outdoor school. Whereas they come back, there might be some new excitement for the outdoors. We might be reaching new people, and those are usually 5th or 6th graders. So that might be really great for the troops.
That's a great point. And I actually had that pegged because my kid went to outdoor. I have a 6th grader who just went to outdoor school, and the energy when the kids all came back, they were super into the outdoorsy thing. I was like, man, there's got to be a way where we can tap in to the 6th grader.
Yeah, my son went in the 5th grade, and the school did an outdoor session in the evening for parents for information. They were roasting s'mores, and it's something that a troop might be able to tap in to help with run a s'more station to add to it. Might be a great way to be helpful.
Specifically for troops, I found that right at the crossover time, 5th grade, I'm here in Beaverton. A lot of kids that have done recreational sports, 5th grade is when select sports start, and the price goes way up.
Oh, yeah.
So, a year of scouting is less than 1 season of select sports.
Right.
And so there'll be families kind of like, yeah, they've been playing sports, they enjoy it, but yeah, they're not the one that's going to be at the top. So maybe it's time to change focus.
Yeah. And I will note too, when you're making notes on leads, that will come up is that they'll be like, yes, my kid's interested in scouting, but you just started soccer. So in 3 months we'll be available. And I put a little note on there that's like, hey, in November when soccer's over or whatever it is, check back in with this family. Sometimes they time out. So that's why I would keep my own tracker so that I can keep track of that myself.
Okay. The other question is, does anyone have any data on the initial ages that kids join Scouts?
So I don't know what's current, when I originally did all my research and put this together, it was 2nd grade. So the wolf den would always explode. And for the 3 years that I was in there, that was pretty accurate, as our wolf den would explode and then it would kind of trickle down.
That's traditional scouting is 2nd grade, and then they start going younger and younger. So one thing as a cutmaster, wolf den, it's the grandparents bringing them in because they're in 2nd grade. The grandparents didn't know there was a lions and a tigers program.
Oh, interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That is all the questions we have online.
Fantastic.
Well, feel free to share, whether it's online or, as we're kind of winding down here in the room as well, just any other ideas that people have for trainings that would be helpful around membership. We want to continue to do some things throughout the year, just to, again, help units, demystify things that seem complicated or that they're struggling with. As we get into June and July, we'll start doing some stuff around fall kickoff and some of the tools and things that we'll have available, and we'll be getting information out on those soon. But we want to continue to be adding in other ideas for training, and the best resource for identifying those is really units and what are the things that you're struggling with or could use help and support on. So let us know.
I actually have one right now. How to start a new unit.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm district membership chair for Pacific Trail, and I've got 2 groups that are interested in starting packs right now. Both of them are thinking fall kickoff, and so we're looking at 90-day plans probably, especially trying to get with summer and stuff like that, especially dealing with Beaverton School District, Hillsborough School District. Both have very complex processes to go through that you still may end up running into a brick wall to get information out through the school districts.
Yeah.
And how you can talk to them and things like that. So so that's one, having a playbook on trying to do this. It's one of those things, it's not necessarily trying to, but I also know people that are traveling in excess of an hour to meetings. And so, yeah, because the district goes out to Gales Creek and stuff like that. And so they kind of like, yeah, we're going to a good unit and stuff like that, but the drive is really starting to get on me.
There's definitely.
So there's holes that may,
gaps.
There's gaps in where units are, and if you've got a couple, 3 families that feel like they're close enough that maybe we can find a few more, maybe we start our own unit.
Yeah, love to see that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because right now, our membership is upside down. We have way more troops than we have Cub Scout packs, and so you have troops
Pacific Trail,
fighting
same
over
way.
small.
Yeah, but just to go on that one a little bit further, before the pandemic, we were about 55% Cubs, 45 in troops, even in raw numbers of scouts, and that's flipped now. We need to get that flipped back, just because of being the packs being a feeder into the troops.
Yeah.
It's a game of attrition because not all the scouts stick around, so you need a big Cub Scout base that feeds into troops. So.
National, when it was putting out its when I was down there for its training, they actually were saying that it takes 2 Cub Scout packs to feed 1 troop. So
that makes sense.
When you're upside down, like a lot of the districts right now, without those Cub Scout units, you're going to start seeing the troops. It takes about 2 years for them to start falling off.
Yeah. I don't know what the ratio. I heard statistics on when you form a new troop. The statistics on them making it past the first year. Too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
as many packs as we can see.
Yeah.
And don't see it as competition. That's one thing that I was dealing with recently, was that a new pack was forming and folks saw it as competition. And whenever I talk to parents that ask me about scouting, it's like, go visit a couple of units, see which one feels most like home, because those parents are who you're going to be spending time with, you're going on campouts with and stuff. Also varying days of the week and stuff too, work better for families and things. And so really even packs in a community and troops in a community working together to make sure they're kind of covering the bases and stuff. It makes scouting that much stronger in every community.
Yeah, we're trying to work on Timberline on like teaming up together. So maybe you have community events where it's a whole weekend, but there's a pack that's like, we'd love to be there, but we can't man this for 3 days. Well, let's team up with 3 other packs in the area and we'll all take shifts, because it doesn't matter which pack they join. If they join scouting in our area, that's a win. So just working together, to try and get more families into scouting. Yeah.
Well, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
So,
you.
someone made a comment here that this is the best training they've heard on recruiting yet.
Yay!
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're gonna stop the recording on that note, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.